Oh, certainly wasn't happy after that World Cup final defeat,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel so angry or anything like that.
So we're gonna look at all the games. Um, Obviously, from the we did the predictions like I don't know 1 month ago, I believe. I think it was 1 month ago.
Sometime in July.
Yeah, it was some time like that. Obviously, New Zealand beat Norway, Philippines was Switzerland, and obviously the most shocking result in the group stage from this group, I think, was Philippines beating New Zealand. Nobody saw that really. And then obviously Switzerland, Norway. I think Norway underperformed in my opinion um, in this group, but big up the Philippines. They won a game where I probably would have predicted them to not even get a point. So, what's your thoughts? Was it pretty much these two teams? It was very close though until the end of the New Zealand
Yes,
actually needed to beat Switzerland to go through. What's your
yes, it
thoughts?
was. Norway, the New Zealand. I'll start on the host New Zealand. They were definitely competitive in this group. Beating Norway was a perfect start, and their goalkeeper also saved a penalty as well.
Mm,
Um, and then they lose to Philippines, which was a result none of us saw coming.
mm,
And then from what I saw, they put up a good fight against Switzerland. Switzerland did well defensively, which ultimately got them top spot. They
yeah,
started well. Goal scoring did come a bit of a concern as it resulted into something we might talk about later. I do agree with you. Norway underperformed. I expected them to do a bit better than they did, but and then Philippines. Credit to them, they got the first win, but when they were up against the other opponents, it was clear to see that they weren't good enough. But Switzerland were definitely a team to watch in this group.
yeah. And also, I have um, the final uh, standings where they put all the teams from first to 32. So Switzerland 14th in this standing, Norway
I regret
15th.
not putting Switzerland first.
Yeah, Switzerland are 14th, Norway 15th. New Zealand came as 20th best team on the tournament, and surprisingly, Philippines are 24th. So that's where it's surprising that Philippines actually are were better than most of the teams that are below them. Um,
Wow.
Obviously, this was a very interesting group. Next group, we have obviously the hosts, which come down later also to the knockouts, how well they did. Um, yeah, New Zealand, they did not go through, but Australia did. I also think Australia, they weren't amazing in this group. They obviously they lost to Nigeria 3-2, but they beat Canada 4-0, which was a big statement. Because Canada, I believe in 2015, they were in the semi-final, quarterfinals, and then obviously 19, I think they got knocked out in the round of 16. So I think Australia, they fully deserve to go first. Um, Obviously, Sam Kerr did not play that much because of the injury. But yeah, I think Australia, massive for them to obviously win this group because we also have Nigeria who performed well, but they they did enough to get second. But yeah, I think Nigeria with the win against Australia, I thought they would win the group. But yeah, and then we have Canada, who obviously, as we come to the last thing of this stream, is going to be flop nations. Like Canada, they underachieved and not performed well. Republic of Ireland, just being here for the first time ever, it was huge for them. And I think, yeah, 1 point, you take it to the next qualifying, to the Euros in 2 years. So I think it's going up for these nations like Nigeria, Ireland, definitely Australia. So before you give your thoughts, the ranking for this group, Australia came fourth for obvious reasons. Nigeria, they came 10th in the ranking. I don't know if that's probably fair. Then we have Canada, who picked on 21st place, and the Republic of Ireland 26th. So your thoughts on this group? Like, what did you see in, obviously, in these teams, Australia and obviously Nigeria in this group, that they came above Canada, who had a really, really good team? Impressive.
Well, Australia, as you said, got off to a slow start. It took a penalty to beat Republic of Ireland, who they themselves hit the post a few times, and they maybe could have got closer to the knockouts, but just they weren't clinical enough. And then again, Australia, they suffered against Nigeria, who they themselves played well. Australia didn't properly get going until that last game where they'd destroyed Canada. Mary Fowler, for me, started to show up then as like a replacement for Sam Kerr, and I think she might even be my young player of the tournament. Canada, I mean, they had most of the chances against Nigeria, but they just couldn't score. They did well to turn it around against Republic of Ireland, even though debatably Republic of Ireland might have been the better team. And of course, things fell apart for them in that Australia game. Sinclair didn't show up at all. That's the other thing I've got to say on Canada, but it was a well-contested group overall.
Yeah, next, obviously, group. I think this was most interesting. Obviously, Japan winning the group. Spain, I wasn't that convinced by them. But they got 2 huge wins against Costa Rica and Zambia, and then they just fall off and get beaten by Japan 4-0. So Spain, obviously, won the whole thing. But they're first in the ranking. Japan get 5th. Zambia 25th. And Costa Rica 30th. So, yeah, I think Japan definitely deserve to win this group. Because I think Spain, they obviously, I think they feel like a B team in the Japan game, but they should have gotten a draw in that game with the quality they have. And obviously, they have a good team, but the coach for Spain, I believe, he is not that good, but they got the job done. They won the group. What's your thoughts, Matt?
I didn't watch the Spain versus Costa Rica game, but seeing the scoreline and when the goals came, it made me want to find a bit more about the two teams later on. Zambia versus Japan. Japan were the better team in the first half. It was only 1-0. Where it completely fell apart for Zambia was they didn't make the necessary changes at the right time. There were warning signs coming in before it went to 2-3-0. including 2 goals that were ruled out on offside. And then, of course, it wasn't much better for Zambia against Spain. And Zambia, by the end, they showed that they had something in them by beating Costa Rica 3-1, and maybe they could have done something more if they were in England's group, for example, where the competition wasn't as strong in the pot 2 to 3, or in the pot 2. And Japan, they definitely surprised us by battering Spain. It made us start to take Japan more seriously as contenders, and Spain. We wondered, what is this going to mean for them? But it turned out to be a great wake-up call for Spain, and of course Miyazawa.
Yeah, Miyazawa.
Yeah, her 2 goals ultimately led her on the way to being the top scorer of the tournament. So yeah, I think the group just says for itself in terms of who was the best and who was the worst.
Yeah, obviously we have the England group. Obviously England ended up being second. Obviously
First.
Haiti being second in the tournament.
I see.
Haiti 29th worst. Only 4 teams. No, 3 teams worse than Haiti. And then Denmark. Denmark actually 11th. Wow. And obviously the last team, China, 23. So I think England, they weren't excellent in this group, but they got the wins that you guys needed. And obviously you guys had a superior team to any other team in this group that you had to win. I think first game you played well. I might slightly towards a draw because I think Haiti was very good in that game. You weren't convincing, and then you played Denmark, obviously beating them 1-0 only. After these first games, I thought, am I gonna get it right? The England probably won't be one of their favorites, but then you just smashed China, and I was like, okay, maybe. But you weren't that convincing in the 2 first games, but then you stepped it up a bit. Because if you had played like the first 2 games in the knockouts, you probably would have gone straight up. But yeah, I think you guys deserve this. Deserve to go through. You were clearly the better team. 80, just happy to be there, I guess. China, they got the 3 points. Yeah, I think Denmark did have a bit of a problem in this group because they weren't the best. Yeah, Denmark struggled. They struggled with China. They beat them all in last 3 minutes. Yeah, what's your thoughts on this group? Obviously, you guys won it.
Well, with England, it wasn't what we expected against Haiti. I don't think the formation really worked in our favour. Of course, having Stanway there to be clinical on the spot helped. Maybe the England still could have won without that moment. But in this game, and maybe the Denmark game as well, we had moments of defensive errors, and Mary Earps, the goalkeeper, was able to show up when England needed it. And in that Denmark game, Lauren James has a fantastic goal. She scored, I would say, my goal of the tournament. I would say England were better against Denmark, but there was still some defensive issues that needed to be addressed for that third game. For that first game, there was a back four of Bronze, Bright, Carter, and Greenwood, and this time Rachel Daly came in at the left back position, and Greenwood went into centre back. And again, there was the vulnerability there. But come that third game, Serena Wiegman changed it up, so went to a back three, which actually suited Carter, Brighton, especially Greenwood, and Rachel Daly, who normally plays as attacker, sometimes defender for England. It seemed to the left wing back role seemed to suit her well. And allowed Lucy Bronze to get more forward. You had Hempen, Lauren James in there, so defensively we were more assured against China, and it allowed the attackers to have more chances without getting so exposed. Some brilliant goals. Russo started to step up in the tournament. Chloe Kelly and Rachel Daly also had some good goals. I don't. The penalties debatable. I don't. Probably the right decision, but I don't think Lucy Bronze should have got a yellow card. With Denmark, they didn't start well. It was the game was sort of coming out to a 0-0 draw. China probably were a bit better, but Denmark got the important goal. Maybe could have got something against England, but I think England probably just about deserved to win. And they stepped up a bit against Haiti. China, not much to say. They seemed fairly efficient in the two games that they played, and then fell apart against England. Didn't tactically respond well after going behind. And Haiti, to be fair, did play well. They had some chances against England. Of course, it took a penalty for them to lose against China as well. And come that last game, it didn't work out for them. But they certainly were better than perhaps we would have perceived them to be. And this is the only group where I got 100% table completion, where I got the group order right.
Yeah, I think I got I got the group angle. Next we have this group. I would say the Netherlands winning this group. Obviously, USA was close to get out, post from going out in group stage. And I would say Portugal third, and then Vietnam. Vietnam, worst team in this tournament. I knew they were gonna, I would say 32. The USA, 9th best according to the FIFA standing. Netherlands 7, and Portugal 19th. So I think this group was straightforward, but it was Netherlands this time going first. I was not convinced by USA. I think they should have gone out. Portugal were much better. It's very, very unfortunate that Portugal went out, because they were excellent in that game with USA. And yeah, it's a group straightforward. The two teams who everyone expected to go for, they went for. So what's your thoughts? Expected group, or could you, after those two games, 2 match days, going into the third, could you have seen Portugal going through instead? Because USA did not look good versus obviously Netherlands, and they did not look the greatest versus Vietnam. But
I think we all expected Vietnam to be fourth. The Netherlands, I expected them to go through. They seem to have found their footing more post Serena Wiegmann, and of course they smashed Vietnam, got a draw with the USA, and from what I saw, they weren't that great against Portugal, but Portugal also at the same time weren't very clinical. But I do agree with you about USA. They were underwhelming. Their only win in this whole tournament has come against Vietnam, and Portugal. USA should have lost that game, but they were just fortunate things that they were able to keep a clean sheet. And against Vietnam, Portugal did definitely show that that they were at least the third best team in this group, and it put them in a good position. I say they played well in that game, and I didn't see the game myself, but who knows if any moment had changed in that game, it could have won on against USA.
Yeah. Next, we have this is crazy that it happened because obviously Brazil going out. They needed to beat Jamaica. I think this is a group where Jamaica, obviously, people said, yeah, third, fourth, but they surprised people. They came second, and Jamaica actually in the standings of all the 32 teams, they came 13th, and then France 6th, and then Brazil 18th, and then Panama came 31st, only above Vietnam. So France, they weren't that convincing, but they got the results, and the crazy results came in the last game versus Panama 6-3. I think France played the best, obviously with Renard as manager. Yeah, I think.
Hello, Renard.
Yeah, the objective for France was getting first, mostly winning games. Jamaica, they surprised a lot of people. Came second ahead of Brazil, which had some superstars, but Brazil did not get into the level that they should have been. Panama, yeah, worst team in this group. They were dreadful, except the last game where they scored 3, but they lost the game still. I think this was a shock that it was Jamaica before Brazil. What was your take on it? That Brazil went out and also this group planning out as it had?
Well, I think things started shaking up once Jamaica got that 0-0 draw against France. France, it was underwhelming. The only significant chance I can remember was towards the end when they had a cross, and I think it was Diani who had a header that hit the underside of the crossbar and was close to going in, but not enough. Panama are, of course, were never in this. At this point, come match day 2, we started wondering that a draw could be enough for Brazil to get first place. And France ended up responding well, beating Brazil. And then that last day, Brazil did have the better of the chances, but Jamaica, they showed a lot of courage. They defended well. Maybe could have scored, but then you could say the same about Brazil. Draw was deserved, and that's a big upset. And some people had Brazil going pretty far. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the group.
Yeah, the next group, obviously Group G, my group. Rank, you got beaten finally. Refs could save you this time. Nah, I think we were very good. Obviously, we cooked Italy. I don't think Italy will want to play us ever again, if I'm being honest. We prevented them to going to the 2018 World Cup, and then we beat them in this Women World Cup. So I reckon they'll never want to play us, but I think we played very good. Obviously, in the group stage, we beat everyone who came across us, and yeah, I think we were probably the best team in group stages. We were convincing victory over Argentina and Italy. Not it was shaky first game. I think we struggled with South Africa's attack. It was really good. They were fast and they were quick with the ball. We then stopped Italy's, I think, biggest threat in Urali, the striker. I think she played for Juventus. We stopped them very good, Italy, and then we come obviously the crosses as we have players who are much bigger height than the other players. We used set piece to advantage and we scored it. And the third game, obviously we already through, but we got the win, which was very good, confident, more confident going into the next round. I think we fully deserve to go through as first. We should go through as first because with that team, second would be unacceptable. South Africa, they performed very well in the group stage. I think South Africa they were very good versus Italy. I was watching that game also, and South Africa was they fully deserved that. Argentina came fourth, not really shocked. There was the debutant, I believe, or there was in the last World Cup. I think Argentina, they just focused on getting the first win, which they did not. They had the point that Italy disappointed in them. They should have done better. And I think this was a group to watch back on and say, Italy could have done better. But I think this is a straightforward, is deserved for all the teams to place in that order. This group was Sweden's and we took it. Thoughts on this group?
Well, unsurprisingly, Sweden walked to the group. They were in total control and only conceded one goal this whole group stage. Italy, they were my surprise team to go out. On paper, they should probably have got second, but I just had a feeling that this was not going to be their year to go through. In the Euros beforehand, they went out their group, which included a drawing to Iceland and losing to Belgium, both of whom aren't at this World Cup. Which they did start well, to be fair, and then things got very worrying when they got smashed by Sweden. And their last game was an excellent game. I do regret not backing South Africa more because I had a feeling that they could do it, but I didn't have enough bravery to select them to go through. With Argentina, yes, I did have them finishing second, but reflecting back then I had a better argument for South Africa, to be honest. Argentina, their problem was goal scoring. Against South Africa and against Scotland in the last World Cup, they seem to only score or when it's comebacks. And of course, Sweden did well at stopping that in the last game. South Africa, yeah, they definitely deserve to go through. Took the lead against Sweden, lost out to the quality at the end, and things didn't look good when he threw away a 2-goal lead to Argentina, but they were excellent against Italy. Responded well whenever they conceded. And for that last goal, the player, I don't remember her name, she picked her moments correctly. The footwork, the positioning, the way she struck up the ball, the way she's able to beat the keeper and pick her spot. South Africa were excellent. I suppose this group was about as right as what it should have been. Argentina maybe could have got third if they had their shooting boots on.
Obviously, this last group, we had Colombia coming first, Morocco, Germany, South Korea. But looking at the for these, also we did that, but the standings, Sweden obviously came third. South Africa was standing at 16th. Argentina 27. Italy came 22nd. This group, though, Colombia going through. I'm gonna say they came 18th, 8 in their standings, top 8. Morocco, who came second in this group, they came 12th. Germany 17th, and South Korea 28th. So I think Germany, they started pretty well, and they beat Morocco 6-0, and that's where it all fell down for Germany. Basically, they lost Colombia, which is very surprising with the team Germany have. And obviously South Korea was the one to send out the Germans again, 2 times in 5 years. First in the 2018 Men's World Cup. So Germany, it's the football in Germany right now, the national teams is not doing that well. They're struggling. South Korea, obviously they were not great. Germany weren't great. Morocco came second, which is huge for the country because we saw what the men's team did in the Men's World Cup. They're excellent. I think they were good in this tournament. Colombia, they're serving, finishing first. And obviously, Morocco beating Colombia. The last game. Like, well, what's your take on this group? Because Germany, Messi, disappointed in them. They should have.
Yeah, Germany should have done a lot better than they did. They started well, got that 6-0 victory over Morocco. Of course, against Colombia, they were disappointing. You'd have expected them to get at least a draw, but you could maybe excuse the fact that Colombia were, like, on paper, possibly the next best team after Germany. That last game, the first half, the goal that South Korea scored came from a defensive error where the centre backs were split and didn't mark the runner who turned out to be the goal scorer. In the second half, they had a lot of chances, was pretty one-sided, but they couldn't convert. It wasn't really working so well when they were shooting from outside of the box and playing short or to low passes. Whenever they did go for the aerial duels, and Pop was there most of the time, it was working fairly well, which that's where the goal came from. They had an unlucky offside goal, which came from a Pop header. They definitely should have done a lot better than they actually did. And if they had won, they would have gone top of the group. That's how crazy things were. Morocco, not a team we expected to go through, but they did what they needed to do to get through. And yeah, Colombia also deserved to go through. I don't think South Korea had enough to really put them within a shout.
So let's move into the knockouts, where we had obviously Spain beating Switzerland 5-1. We had Netherlands beating South Africa 2-0. Japan winning 3-1 against Norway. Sweden beating United States of America on penalties, which crazy. I was absolutely delighted for that one. England beating Nigeria on penalties. That was a pretty good game. Australia winning 2-0 against Denmark. Colombia beating Jamaica 1-0. France beating Morocco 4-0. So, yeah, Spain, they dominated, winning 5-1. Deserved. And then we have Japan, who continued their run while beating Norway 3-1. That was not a statement. If Spain was a statement, this was a statement. So I think Norway, they obviously had to learn how to actually defend properly. Before, I think this was the coach, because the coach got sacked or something. And there was Netherlands beating South Africa. That was convincingly. Then we had Sweden beating USA. Man, that's a result where I knew we were going through, but not on penalties. Well, what's your take on it? Sweden kicking at USA.
Well, I suppose this sort of sums up USA in terms of this tournament. And watched the game, but I was aware they had a number of chances. Your goalkeeper did very well.
Yeah, most of it.
And the other thing I haven't really heard enough is that if Sweden were at their best, I definitely think they could have killed off USA much earlier. Because even in the penalty shootout, they missed two, and USA didn't capitalize. In fact, they had two penalties. Most of the blame was going towards Rapinoe, and she didn't take a good penalty. But then Sophia Smith, I believe her name is, she had the fifth penalty, had a chance to win, and you messed it up completely. It was definitely a reality check, that game. And as I said, Sweden could have killed them off much sooner if they were at their best.
Yeah. Obviously England beating Nigeria, which I did see that happening, but not on penalties.
Me too. England, they didn't play that well. Nigeria hit the woodwork about 3 times, and then come the penalty shootout, that's been the difference. 2 penalties that have gone over the bar. And then England, of course, showed up in terms of the goal scoring. I mean, Mary Ups didn't even have to save a penalty, but the penalties were good, including Chloe Kelly's penalty to win it. It was definitely there was definitely a big warning sign that England needed to improve when they were to play Colombia, and if Nigeria had a goal scorer or even somebody who performed like they did against Australia, then maybe they could have gone through. Unless you want me to talk about any other games, what I can say is I got Australia, Denmark, Japan, Norway, and Netherlands, South Africa correct on the score predictions.
Yeah, I got. I think I got a few of them right. Definitely. I think I got Colombia right, Australia, France. I think it was this one. I predicted 3-1, I believe. Yeah. So obviously Australia winning 2-0. Oh wow. It continued, obviously 75 attendance. The support in this obviously all the fans the support was insane in this tournament. A lot of fans from different worlds. Like the attendance for the Australian game, 75,000 every single game, I believe, or something like that.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it. It was 75, 49, 27. But then we have in the knockouts, 40,000, 43, 49 for England, Nigeria. I think it's because of many Nigerians live in England, I believe. Also, there's a lot of Nigerians. 75,000.
Yeah, or
Third
despite the
quarter.
fact England's a long way from Australia.
Obviously, the quarterfinals where we had was Spain beating Netherlands 2-1. Parallel scored the winner. And then Sweden beating Japan. And then we beat basically the two favorites, Japan and USA. Sweden,
Yeah,
very happy. Obviously, letting that goal was absolute stress because I thought we would have bottled it. And then obviously Australia beating France on penalties. 7-6. I think that's the biggest, craziest penalty shootout I've seen in my life. That penalty shootout was crazy. Very good penalties. I'm gonna say very good penalties. Yeah, Australia went through. England went through against Colombia. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you guys were that great. I think Colombia should have done better. They should have scored more. It was a very nice goal from Colombia. Was it this goal? I don't know. It was, I think, the Caicedo. I think it was versus Germany. Caicedo player. I think she scored.
Santos scored against England.
Yeah, like it was Caicedo, the Colombian. I think she scored a good goal versus.
Yeah.
I think it was Germany. And obviously, as we've seen here, England. I think you weren't great, but I think you definitely. If you look at the game again, you guys definitely deserve it. So I think this result was deserving. Was Sweden beating Japan? I was very happy at that time. And then yeah, I think we had Spain, Sweden, Australia, England in a semi-final. How did you feel about that? Like when you saw all the results here, and then you see okay, Spain, Sweden, Australia, and England in the semi-final. That most people would probably have predicted France, England, Germany, Brazil.
USA.
What's your thoughts on that? It was
Well, I didn't catch any of the first two games, and certainly no surprises that Spain are a bit better than the Netherlands. Um, for the Japan versus Sweden game, it was definitely easier to bet on Japan, but Sweden made another big statement. And from what I know, they controlled the game within the first 60 minutes, and towards the end, they were more or less hanging on. The Australia versus France game was very unpredictable, and especially on the penalty shootout. I forgot to mention her, but Diani had a very good tournament. Once she came in and was playing regularly, she was scoring goals on the way to the to the quarterfinal, and did even score in the shootout. For that England Colombia game, England didn't perform well in the first half. Scoring that late equaliser certainly probably did help them a bit. And I do think England played well in the second half. Certainly, they definitely stepped up their game, and I thought overall they deserved to win the game. And yeah, I remember having three of the four semi-finalists correct, including Australia. But yeah, that's my thoughts. The best was, whilst it was a better performance, the best was still yet to come for England.
yeah.
And I believe Lucy Bronze might have said that as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the last 10 minutes, Spain. The referee was all on Spain's side. The fouls, the dirty tactics of diving. Like, I'm not saying it because of biasness, but generally the referee was so bad in the last 10 minutes. Like, when we scored that goal, I did not celebrate that much, but I celebrated like crazy. But then we conceded a stupid goal, which most of it should have had that. I cannot blame it, but and we made it to the quarterfinals, semi-final. I'm proud of that. I'm still not seeing Sweden win a tournament, gold medal. I still believe I will see it in the next years, either 2025 or 2027. Yeah, I think we played very defensive versus Spain. I think we let them have the ball too much, which annoyed me. But yeah, I think Spain, obviously, they went to the final. Then we have Australia, England. I think you guys were excellent versus Australia. Honestly, hand scoring. I think, yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful goal. Ella Toon, who scored a very, very good goal. Actually, that was my favorite goal. Besides that Kerr goal, which is the goals this tournament was pretty amazing. When I was
Very true.
Russo scored in the 89th minute, 86th minute, sorry, to send England to the final. Yeah, I think England, you guys deserve to go that far to the semi-final because I think you had the team to win it. Same with Sweden. Australia definitely surprised in this tournament. I think we had the team to make the final, but we bottled it. England, what a performance. I think the best performance from you guys was versus Australia, in my opinion. That's when you really stepped up to the highest level that you could have. Yeah, I think Sam Kerr, she did what she can. England made the final, which, yeah, you predicted Spain against England, I believe, in the final. So,
I think on my updated bracket I did, but no. I think I predicted it once the semi-finals were confirmed. But My initial final was USA versus England.
Okay. And obviously, what's your take on Sweden, Spain? Obviously, Spain winning against Sweden, sadly, and obviously England beating Australia.
Well, the first game, Spain probably did enough to win. I don't remember too much about the game in before the last 10 minutes. It didn't feel Sweden had enough attacking edge that they did against Japan and in the group stages. And then Spain used their subs well. Paralero, she she scored an important goal, and that ultimately had got her a starting place in the final. After Sweden equalised, they weren't switched on and suffered the consequences as a response. For the Australia-England game, the big game players showed up. So even at the start, 0-0, Mary Ups made a important save in a one-on-one against Sam Kerr. Toon and Kerr, as you said, scored some excellent goals. And Hemp and Russo, big game players, has also scored goals at important times. In fact, Russo's goal was pretty much a carbon copy of the goal she scored against Colombia when she was on the right half of the penalty box and scored to the far post. And that ultimately pretty much knocked the stuffing out of Australia. So yeah, definitely one of the best performances. You could say the China game, but China were very bad in that game. But this was definitely one of the best England performances, if not the best one. And it was huge.
Yeah. So we're moving to the last two games before we actually do the flop nations. First, yeah, Sweden take the bronze. Let's go. They landed yesterday, so it's been very good few days for Sweden. I think we played very good against Australia. I think it would, if this was the final, I think it would have been much closer. Obviously, we take the bronze. I'm happy about that. Rolf scored and Aslan scored. So yeah, I think we were a much better team. And then we have the final. Spain winning 1-0. Carmona scored a beautiful goal, 29th minute, and that was the goal of the final. Matt, you wanna say something about the final? Your thoughts on the final? You lost, sadly.
I'll shortly talk about the third place game first. I didn't watch it, but I know Sweden did enough to prove themselves that they were definitely a top three team this tournament. As for the final, I think tactically we didn't start the game in well at all. Similar to what you said about Sweden, we just sat a bit too deep and let Spain have too much possession. Did have a few chances in that first half, not too much to shout about. Besides Lauren Hemp hitting the bar, Lucy Bronze, what is she doing in as the right wing back, dribbling into the centre, losing it with three unmarked Spanish players in front of her, and then Spain exploit that open side, and even Alicia Russo was running back as the striker to try and cover for Bronze's error, and the captain Carmona got the goal. And second half, Spain defended very well. I was seeing Lauren James play. Lauren James was in England's half too much. She's too deep. Chloe Kelly didn't get enough chances with the ball. Maybe Spain were lucky not to go down to 10 men, as Palero was on a yellow card and she kicked the ball away, which normally is a yellow card offence, and was a bit lucky. I think England did deserve a free kick closer to the end with a foul on Lauren James that got missed. However, that's not to say that England would have scored from that free kick. But it was definitely more could have been done in terms of being competitive. Hemp and Russo didn't have a great game. Chloe Kelly didn't have a great game. England let Spain have too much of the ball. Spain had more chances. Earps did come clutch with the penalty save, and Carter, Bright, Greenwood, they did make some important blocks when they needed to. There just wasn't enough chances from England. So yeah, to sum it off, they let Spain have too much possession in the first half, and they didn't maximize their attacking chances in the second half. We were a bit too narrow.
Do you think this was the last game for Serena Wigman with the women team?
No, she's interested to continue. She even turned down the opportunity to go and manage the USA. She's spoken enthusiastically about continuing, and there's no sign of her leaving before the next friendly coming up. So I think she'll be staying.
So the flop nations, we say two flop nations. For me, it's two nations that flopped: Germany and Brazil. Germany and Brazil. Well, what teams are you gonna?
Those are great picks. I've got Germany. I've got USA as well, but Brazil, of course, is top three. I don't have Canada quite up there because it didn't surprise me that Nigeria went through. I thought they had it in them to potentially go through, but Germany and USA are my top two.
That's interesting. Yeah, so obviously the player of the tournament was Bonmati from Spain. My player, we're gonna do our player of the tournament.
Okay.
So who you think? I'm gonna say is a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm gonna say Bonmati because I think she was probably the best player. I think she was very good. What's your player?
It's a tough one as well. I could even go with one of the Japan players. Even Sweden are in with a good shout. Didn't see a lot of Bonmati, which of course it's easy for me to pick her, but for the sake of being different, I'll say Alex Greenwood.
Oof. Yeah, I would have him. I would have she in the top 5 or something. I think she was very good for you guys. Surprise player. So I'm gonna for Rasso from Australia. I think she was very good when she played. Obviously in the France game she was very good, and also in the game versus Denmark. I think she was probably the best player in Australia team with Sam Kerr and the Vine. So, well, what's your surprise player? Who was surprised?
I have one in mind. I don't know if you're going to do young player of the tournament because I will say the same player for that, if so. But for surprise player, I'm saying Mary Fowler. Obviously,
Yeah,
most of the
yeah,
limelight was on Sam Kerr in terms of how far Australia were going to go. And while she was recovering, Mary Fowler was stepping up. And I think by the time Sam Kerr was fully fit, the two of them were starting.
a surprise player could be like young player also. Like it could be anyone. That's Princess. So the best goalkeeper. This is where I go for a player that came far in the tournament. For me, it's between two goalkeepers, Earps and Musovic. I think both were outstanding in this turn. I'm going for Musovic based on the USA game and obviously the game where he was very good in this tournament for us. I'm going for Musovic as the best goalkeeper. Who are you going for?
I'll also shout out Arnold, who played for
Mm,
Australia. But for me, I've got to say Mary Earps. She was bailing us out whenever England were struggling. Um, of course, come the semi-finals, England had only conceded once. Her only mistake came against the came for the Colombia goal, and despite getting beaten by that wonder goal by Sam Kerr, she was making important saves like the one I mentioned in the first half, and she also saved a penalty that could have easily made things even more difficult. So she was a goalkeeper that stepped up and made some important saves for England. So
yeah,
I'm going with her.
for my second pick, um, obviously, it's not. I would if I wasn't going for Musovic, I would have gone for Arnold. Would you? Who would you have gone if you hadn't go Earps, or would it?
I suppose it would have been Arnold or Musovic.
Mm. So,
I'll say Musovic second because Arnold had two games where she conceded three
yeah.
goals.
So the next one, best defender. For me, it's
Um,
between two players. No,
okay.
three players actually. Batil from Spain, Ilestedt from Sweden, or Alex Greenwood from England. I think these were outstanding in this. I'm going for Batil from Spain. It's a tough one. I don't want to go for too many Spanish players, but I don't know. Um, you know what? I'm gonna either pick Alex Greenwood or Ilestedt. I'm gonna pick Ilestedt because I think she was with the goals. I think she saved us basically in the group stage with like 4 goals. Plus, she was very good at the back when she played. So I'm going for Ilestedt. So two Swedish players. If I wasn't going for Ilestedt, I would have gone for Alex Greenwood, by the way. So who's your best defender?
Again, there's some good options there. You mentioned Ilstad. I
Yeah.
remember seeing her name, but I'd also shout out Jonah Anderson, who also
Oh
played
yeah.
well.
Mm.
She also scored some key goals as well.
Yeah.
Um,
She assisted very well in the corner kicks. Few assists there. So
I could
she
I
was
could see
very
her racking up points in my daily fantasy games. Um, there's Greenwood. There's also Ola Carmona, the left back for Spain, captain as well. Scored in the semi-finals and the final as well. Um,
clutch.
so there are some good picks. I guess I got to go with Greenwood, seeing as I picked her for player of the tournament.
So the next, I would say I went for two Swedish players, but now I'm not gonna go for a Swedish player because it's the best midfielder. For me, the second place, the second pick I have would be a player from England. Uh, um, I would have, if I hadn't picked the player I was gonna pick, um, I would have picked Toon because I think she was probably your best midfielder. But my best midfielder is Bon Mate. I think she was the best outstanding midfielder in this tournament. I think she was very, very good for Spain, and I think she gonna have the best midfielder. She get the player of the tournament. Um, also here in real life. So, who's your best midfielder to pick? And obviously, you can have a second choice between.
I think I would say Bon Mate. We did. I'd say Spain also had been playing so well that they didn't even need to use Alexi Petea so much. I would say England's best midfielder, the one that I'd nominate for going in the best 11 of the tournament, would be Georgia Stanway. But as far as best midfield, I think I would go with Bon Mate.
So we obviously have the best attacker. So it could be left wing, right wing, striker. This is a very tough one. Obviously, I the second player obviously in mind. Russo in mind for second pick. I have one before that. Yeah, I think Russo would be close. She was very good. Hemp also. So it's tough. I'm gonna go for. It's a very tough one. Even though they went out in the quarterfinals, France, their attack was very good, I think, but I'm gonna stick with going for Hemp. I think she was very, very good. One of your best players, obviously with Russo and Herbs. I would, if I hadn't gone for Hemp, I would have gone for Russo. I think both of them were very crucial for all the goals you've scored. Yeah, who's your best attacker or best attacker of the tournament?
The Japanese player who got top scorer, I think she might be attacking midfield, something like that. If she is an attacking midfield, then maybe she could come into consideration. I'm going to be a bit. I'm going to be a bit different, and I'm going to say Diani, who played for France.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say if it was for a French player, I would have said Lazo Merba. I think she was
yeah, she's good as well.
So this is very interesting because we have best team of the tournament from not the win, best nation, not the team, best nation of the tournament from not Spain. Which do you think was the best team out of Spain? Because I think generally I think it was Sweden.
I think it has to come between Sweden, Japan, or England. And if I'm to pick one, I'd probably lean towards England. But it's a hard one because but both teams have all lost out just by one result each. So is this a tough one? Tempted by Japan, but of course they got the least furthest out of the three of them. But yeah, I think I'll say England.
Yeah, I say Sweden. So the last thing we're gonna do is this King of the Tournament. So I have created here. So we're gonna basically do 43. We're gonna have one backup for each position. So your goalkeeper, who was the best goalkeeper of the tournament?
I would say Marriott.
Yeah, I would say Arts as well. Who would be backup?
I guess Osmovic.
Yeah, Musovic probably. What is that? Musovic or Arnold? That's a tough one. I would say Musovic and Herbs. The right back. Who was the two best right backs in your opinion?
I can't say Lucy Bronze because she was exposed in the group stage and of course was at fault for the goal that England conceded in the final.
Batil from Spain. What do you say?
Sure. The right backs aren't coming to me, to be honest. What part of the defense did Anderson play?
Left.
Okay.
We had Natalie Bjorn at the right back. I'm gonna pick her for the backup. She was very good also. Centre backs.
On the left side of the centre backs, I'd be putting Greenwood in there.
Greenwood, and who's the backup for that position? Carpenter.
Well, I'd have Greenwood I'd have her on the left side because she spent most of her career as a left back, and she also played on the left of a back three. I know some. On the other side, I would probably say what's the Swedish centre back beginning with I that we've been praising? Yeah, I'd have her in there.
Yeah. Who would be the backup for Greenwood?
I suppose one of the. I mean, there was also Alana Kennedy who done very well. I'm not too sure on what part of the defence she plays, but in attack and defence she contributed very well. And there was another one beginning with C that slipped my mind.
Carpenter.
Yes. Yeah, Carpenter and Kennedy both stand out in the defence for Australia.
Yeah, you know what? I might pick them. Yeah, I'm gonna pick them.
Kennedy might be right back, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure yet. No, she's sent back.
Okay.
So left back, where are you going?
I would say Ola Kamona and Anderson.
Yeah, I would personally agree. So the centre mid, the first. Who's the centre mids?
Well, two of them I would say Georgia Stanway and Bonmate.
Yeah.
The third one I'm not too sure on at the moment.
Who would you have like backup for Bonmate and Stanway.
Well, I'd also have to figure out who else I'd have in that midfield before I can. Oh, I know who I would have. Who's the top scorer's name? I'd have her in there.
Miyazawa.
Yeah, she'd be my third midfielder.
Yeah. I'm gonna put the Robinson at one of the backups. Probably our best midfielder.
I'd have Miyazawa as the. Yeah, I'd have her in there, and then I'd have probably another Japanese midfielder in the as one of the backups. But
or who was the other one? Not the one that scores.
I think you can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, Hasegawa. Who is that? The player for Bonmati to have backup for Bonmati? I would say Puteas actually.
The problem with Puteas is she didn't start most of the games.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a sub against Costa Rica. She was a sub in the final. I don't think her fitness allowed her to have too much of an impact on the games, on the tournament. So I would look away from Puteas.
Any French sentiments?
Potentially, although I can't. There's none specific coming to mind.
Toletti from Toletti or Jojo?
I'd be happy for you to pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna for Euro. So the right wing position. Who is the right wing? You know what? I'm gonna say as backup, it should be Fowler.
I'd have put her at striker, but
yes. Right wing. Okay. Would you play Russo at the right?
I think Hemp would be better suited to be on the right wing.
Who's the backup?
That I'm not sure. I'd imagine one of the Spanish wingers would have to be in this 11, and Pero, she was more of a super sub up until the final, so I wouldn't have her in the 11 based on the whole tournament.
Redondo as maybe backup.
Yeah, sure.
Or the Swedish right one, Connerid.
Could do.
Yeah, we put right on the striker.
I'd have one of Mary Fowler or Kalidou Diade in there.
You know what? Yeah, Fowler. And who's the backup?
I'm putting forward Diane. Diani.
Yeah. Left wing.
I suppose you've got to have a Spanish left winger in there somewhere.
Marion, maybe. And then Rolfe maybe as backup. I think she was great. Um,
Sure. Lauren James could have gone in this 11 had he not had to be suspended, miss the 2 games, and then come on and be underused in the final.
So, this is the team of the tournament for me and Matt. Obviously, Herbs, Batil, Inestead, Greenwood, Carmona, Bonmati, Stanway, Miyazawa, Hemp, Fowler, and Mariano is the starting 11. The backups: Musovic, Björn, Kennedy, Carpenter, Anderson, Giro, Rubinson, Hasegawa, Redondo, Diani, and Rolfe. So maybe many Swedish biased, but it might be good 11. Do you think this 11 backup option will win the Women's World Cup?
Yes.
So that's the team of the tournament. So yeah, that's been it for this Women's World Cup recap. Obviously 1 hour and 21 minutes. Thank you for Matt for joining. Obviously it's only Matt this time, but it worked still. So the next stream most likely will be on Saturday with the recap of the Libertadores and Sudamericana first legs, playoff or the quarterfinals, and then obviously the predictions in the same for the second legs also. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Any final words for me, Matt?
Yeah, it was a enjoyable World Cup until the final, and you can find me at the Matt's channel on YouTube, Matt's Attack 9 on Twitter, and Matty Mats Bristol on Instagram.
Subscribe to both of us. Leave a like, 10 likes for this, because it's final Women's World Cup until 2027, which we hopefully will be back by then. So see you guys later. Thank you for watching.